Do I have your permission to share this video with my online DAT class, Corrective Techniques for Movement Dysfunction?
Yes.
So this week we're talking about the hip hinge movements, and the first thing I'm going to have her start with is doing the hip hinge with the dowel. So the dowel is in contact with her low back, upper back, and then the back of her head. Bring your hand down so it's like right behind you. Yep. What I'm going to have her do, she's just going to do the simple hip hinge. We're going to do it 5 times to make this movement is to make sure that she knows what specifically what movement she's doing. Okay. So when she's bending down, making sure that the dowel stays in contact with everything. If she was to go down further and the dowel was to come off, we would correct her and have her do that smaller movement since it's the correct one. And then this movement in general is not a very big movement, but we're hoping that this fundamental smaller movement is what sort of starts her or initiates all the other movements that we're doing. All right. So the next progression is a sit to stand with the dowel. So still keeping that dowel in contact with the low back, upper back, and head. Having good wide stance, she's going to put all of her weight onto her feet and then stand up from there. And then sit back down. And this movement is a precursor to actually doing the squat, but it's also a movement that patients with low back pain or any sort of SI dysfunction have a lot of pain with, that they are compensating and actually don't do the hip hinge movement. They'll lean over. With our patients here, we have them in parallel bars, so they use their hands most of the time. We want to make sure that we relearn getting a good base of support over the feet and keeping that hip hinge position. Okay, so the next one is going to be a squat. I'm going to have her start just first doing a squat with the dowel. Sit back a little bit more when you do that. Yep. So the same, making sure that the dowel stays in contact with the low back, upper back, and her head. And then when we progress her to the other positions, she actually we do this so that she remembers to be in this position with the other things. Alright, you can put the dowel down. I'll take it. Alright, so the next thing we have her do is a squat on the RX pad. So her feet shoulder width apart. You're going to make sure that she's not bending at her waist, that she's remembering to keep that straight back, chest up position, head up position. And when the hinge comes, it's coming at her hips and not her waist. Okay. Next is a single leg squat with a reach. You want to just turn around and do it. Okay. Then it'll be easier. So with the single leg squat, we moved her into a one leg position. She has to balance, and also with the reach to touch the cone, she has to move her center of gravity over her already progressed base of support, making sure that she's not bending over at the waist, that she's actually keeping that position while trying to touch the cone. And the cone for her right now, to make it easy, is actually on a stool, but to progress that would be to put a cone on the floor and then use progressively make the cone smaller, so ultimately she touches the ground. Okay, so the next is going to be a lunge with the dowel first. So still in that sort of setting this position, bring her hand down behind her. Sort of setting the position first before we do the progressive movement. So she's going to step out with her right foot and then hinge, keeping a good 90-90 with both legs. And then not bending down or bending at the waist to help momentum to bring her back up. Okay. And then with the left-right, we're able to see any asymmetries or any dysfunctions that are only on one side. Next is lunges on the AirX pad, stepping out onto the AirX pad. Okay, so keeping that same position just without the dowel. She wants to sort of remember to not bend over at the waist to keep that good 90-90 with everything. And then adding the AirX pad makes it a little bit more unstable for her so that her sensory motor system has to evolve and sort of progress with the unstable surface. Then she's doing left, right. Again, any asymmetries left compared to right will be evident in this. Okay, now we're going to do a lunge with the shoulder extension. So what I'm going to have her do is you're going to be standing feet shoulder width apart. She's going to do a shoulder extension with the green TheraBand. This will activate her core so that her core is set before she does the movement, and then keeping that good posture, that good movement, keep that hip hinge and legs both at 90-90. And then with this movement ensures that she is activating her core first, getting that good stable base before she does the movement. Next progression is a dumbbell swing. So with this, holding the dumbbell down in between her legs to give her that extra center of gravity pull. She's going to be in that squat position, hip hinging, and then swinging up. So her arms are up to come back up to 90, and then back down. Controlled movement both up and down. And then with the weight, when the weight pulls her down, making sure that she keeps that position, that hip hinge position, so she's not bending over, putting more stress on her back. All right, so slide board is going to be the last progression. I think she put them back up. So with the slide board, making sure that she's in that position. And especially with athletes that have to move side to side, like softball or baseball, at a moment that they're not coming out of that good hip hinge position, and that they're keeping that position so that they have a stable base to move over. She's starting that good squat position. Try to get down a little bit further. In that good squat position, so she's acting like she's sitting in a chair and just propelling off of that one foot and sliding back. And with the AirX pad as well, this helps work that proprioception, that balance, moving back and forth.